The following Earth Angel Media presentation is brought to you commercial-free as a gratuity from the sponsor producer named after the show. Please consider their message. Find other high-value shows listed at earthangelproject.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Soul Decodes. Join us as we wander off the path to find the ideas that fascinate. We talk about spirituality, the mind, the ego, wellness, and hidden history with tips, travels, and tales. Charms for a better life.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. You're listening to Soul Decodes. My name is Dr. Jolie Phillips. I'm with my co-hostess, Sarah Tirri, and we have a special guest today.
Yes, we do.
She's amazing in so many ways.
And you know why she's amazing?
Yeah, I do.
Because she's British.
So, true to form, the Americans are outnumbered here. It's a British invasion. But I'd like to welcome Sharon Keeble to the studio. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you, Tia and Sarah, for having me.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you.
Thank you.
So for those of you who love this beautiful British, those voices, you're going to really enjoy today's episode. Sarah, you've known Sharon a couple times.
Yes,
she's been to some gatherings
here. The
here.
first time we met was here, yeah.
Yeah, so we've had some gatherings. But Sharon, you and I have known each other for a couple years through some of the local networking things.
Yeah, yes, we have, from the Chamber and other networking places. I think at least a couple of years.
Probably
maybe
a couple of
longer.
years, yeah.
Yeah.
But the more I learn about you, the more layers, the more I learn how the different depth to who you are. But for somebody who doesn't know Sharon Keeble, give us some background. I mean, were you born in America or Britain, or where
So
were you?
I was born in England. I grew up just south of Manchester. Most people have heard of Manchester, I think, with this soccer team. And then I moved around a lot with my job. I'm a journalist and an author. So I moved around a lot, got married, had children, then visited America when my youngest was about 1 year old. Went to the Keys, fell in love totally. Bought a little holiday home near Orlando that we rented out to other Brits, and then decided we wanted to live here. And in 2005, we moved here. I actually came over thanks to the National Enquirer magazine, who gave me a job as a features editor. And no matter what anybody says about the National Enquirer, I absolutely loved every minute of it.
Oh, I bet.
It was so fun.
I bet they had more truth than the regular news.
Well, I will tell you, Tia, you're absolutely correct there. Because every single story, and a lot of people might not believe this, but every story that goes in that magazine is really checked out. We have to have it passed by lawyers. So
Really?
Yes, because if they were going to, if somebody was suing you, it costs $250,000 off the bat to defend yourself. So they don't want like regular $250,000 lawsuits. So they have their own lawyers, and everything has to be passed by them. So if you read the National Enquirer...
But there was a headline years ago, and I don't know whether it actually was quite a long time ago, and I can't remember what it was, but it was something like mermaid gives birth to reptilian baby off the coast of Seattle or something. So it was like, holy shit, but they cover that because that's not libel, is it? They can just say what they want as a headline. And it's something, I mean, it was like, wow, it got my attention.
Now, I'm wondering if that was the National Examiner.
Oh, okay, could have been.
Yes, because that's like a sister magazine to the Enquirer. So that could be that. I think people sometimes get them mixed up.
Right.
So, but I can honestly tell you that everything that goes in that magazine is thoroughly checked. No matter what politicians say that I didn't do that or whatever. To get in, it's very
we're
checked.
pretty sure you did. You did. So,
oh yeah.
So this is fascinating that you're a journalist and she's a writer. Sarah's a writer. So you have that in common as well.
Yeah.
So you say that you loved it. I can just imagine that. So you're with a whole load of people putting content for this that's creative.
Yeah.
You've got a mission. You've got to get a story. It's got to be well done. and you've got to prove yourself a bit. I mean, and it's quite a lot at stake because it's at a weekly or monthly magazine.
Weekly.
So I can imagine. And was this in? So you came to America to work in America for the National Enquirer?
Yeah. They offered me a job and they paid for me and the girls and my husband to come over. And they said to me, you can either work in New York or you can work at home. So I'm like, well, I think I'll work at home in Florida so I can be with the kids. But actually, I was sent out on location a lot. So I went all over the place. That year, it was Hurricane Katrina. And one of my first big jobs was, So the National Enquirer had got together a fundraising. So myself and a photographer went out, stayed in Mobile, Alabama, and we helped this church put all these care packages together. And then we drove from Mobile into Louisiana. And
so that was a shocking visual for you then. I mean, that was one of your first jobs.
It's like,
I mean, you weren't in Kansas anymore at that point, were you? Wow, that's a big one.
No, it was.
And did you have to interview people that had suffered?
I did. I worked on that story for quite a long time actually, because stories kept coming out of stories, as you can imagine. But it was. I remember it so vividly because I'd never seen anything like that, because we don't get anything like that in England,
it's
do
your
we?
first hurricane. I mean, now it's a bit of a banality, isn't it? But then it would,
But I remember, so we were with an army convoy, and I was sat in the front with this army guy, and as we came across into Louisiana, there was this smell, like, so weird, and I'd never smelled anything like it, honestly. And I said to the army guy, I'm like, what on earth is that smell? And he just looked at me and he's like, it's death. And I was just like, yeah. Oh, my goodness. It still makes me go shivery. Yeah. God. And it got so strong as we went in.
You wouldn't know what that is unless you were in it, because it's not an everyday thing.
No. And the devastation, I've never seen anything like it. Like, we went to several different towns to deliver. And but there was this lady, I remember there'd been a 12-foot storm surge, and it had wiped out this whole area, and there's about 12 houses, I think, that were there. And we went in there, and this lady was in a tent with her husband. Every house was gone and rubble everywhere. And I handed her this care package, and she just threw her arms around me, and she was just so grateful for, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this woman has lost everything. And yet she can be so grateful and be like this, in all this devastation. So it was
we did a podcast. We've done a few about gratitude, but that's a very interesting story. Everything's been taken away, but this is meaningful for her, and that level of gratitude, and that you were there, you bothered, you cared, and that is the human spirit, isn't it? And it's a really good lesson. I mean, gratitude is very, very important to the spiritual life.
It really is.
And that was kind of, there's probably a lot of profound things that happened to you as a result of being there, but that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is just, how long were you there for?
So I worked for them, let me see, quite a few years.
And did you have lighter-hearted stories to report? So when you went out there, it wasn't just that, something like that?
No, because I was the features editor for the real-life stories. So I didn't do a great deal of celebrity, which, of course, the National Enquirer is known for. I did some, but I predominantly did a lot of real-life stories, and I spoke to some incredible people, with the most amazing stories that were quite happy to share. Often if there was a lesson in it, I find that people want to share their stories if they want to help other people.
Kind of like why you're here.
Yeah.
I mean, you agreed, like you've been through a lot, not just what you're talking about with the newspaper, but your personal life. We'll get to that in a minute. But would you say, I don't really know too much about you personally, but would you say you're kind of a spiritual person, or do you believe your soul's having some sort of a journey? Because that's very central to what we do on Soul Decodes. The idea is that the premise is that we each have a soul, although I might have met some people that don't. But the premise is that we have a soul, and we're on this journey through this earth space, and Soul Decodes is about deciphering or decoding what's this experience all about. So based on this newspaper experience with Katrina and these people, would you say, how does that play into this idea that your soul, you personally, are going through this journey? How was that transformative for you?
So I am a very spiritual person, for sure. I think I learned lessons there. I learned that, even in the most despair, there is always a shining light. And that has helped me as I've dealt with stuff in my own personal life, major events. So yeah, I think my job has been has been very good for me, because I've been talking to all these different people, and they've kind of taught me, if you will, that it's good to share, because somebody is always going through something. And if they can hear how maybe you get through something, or find the, that's what I'm trying to say. I just feel it's very helpful for people to know that they're not alone.
They're not exactly, I was going to say, they don't feel as lonely.
Yeah.
Yes, because someone else on this planet is dealing with that, and it eases the burden to some degree. I'm not quite sure why, but it does.
Yeah.
And we do go through a lot on this planet. I mean, and we've all done in our lives. I mean, your situation, which I think you're going to talk about, but planet Earth is quite a difficult, I refer to it as a training ground, that we're here to learn and then teach as well. So sharing, it's not, I write my book, The Starside Prophecy, which is this one. I talk about the first 23 years of my life, and I share my childhood, because it was very, very troubling and difficult. And I always wanted, because a lot of people, I don't know whether you did, some children do have difficult childhoods, and I felt that sharing my story and hope that it would be helpful, that someone would be able to relate to this. And maybe not the whole thing, but aspects of it. So, and I don't have a problem sharing or writing about myself. Now, some people could say that's really egotistical, Sarah, but I think I love it when people share and open up. And I find British people, they can be quite guarded, can't they? But then some Americans can, but I've never been guarded. I'm quite happy to talk about things that I've been through. And now, you can do that. But then people that have spoken about things that they've been through have been helpful to you.
Right.
So that's really sweet.
Absolutely.
So this is I did not know about your experiences with the hurricane and Katrina and the aftermath. I've been in the back end of a hurricane when I was flying C-141s. I went to Bermuda.
Well, up in the sky, you mean?
No, I
on
landed
the ground. Right. Okay.
I was the first airplane back in the late 80s, when there was a hurricane that hit Bermuda, a square hit, and we were the first ones in. Myself and my crew, we're on the back sides of the hurricane. The back bands, they had to clear the runway. You couldn't get around with cars. It was a mess. You literally had to get a moped and go around these huge trees that were uprooted. So my question to you is, we share that experience. A lot of people would look at that experience and say, oh my goodness, how could there be a God? What kind of God would let this happen? But my question is, can you see a scenario where that's evidence that there's a God? Were you able to see humanity at its very best in that negative situation?
Okay, so I don't necessarily believe that there is one God.
Okay.
I will be honest. I do believe that there is definitely something, just not sure what.
Some creator, some source. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, whether that's one, two, I don't know. And let's face it, nobody really knows.
And
However,
you're in good company, because we very much feel that way. There's this creative force. It's infinite. We don't understand it. We don't want to make God look like us, because that would limit.
Well, we're born in His image, though, aren't we?
That's the story. So, but you're very safe here. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So we believe in that there's a divine intelligence, a creator. We try and work out what that looks like based on a lot of things. But yeah, we're not necessarily the monotheistic Christian God, but there is something.
But we agree with you. None of us can really know for sure. That's why we have to compare notes. Right? So please go ahead. Yeah.
So, however, I do believe that there was something going on at that time, and I believe that's a big question too, because I don't believe things happen for a reason. I don't believe things in our lives are all mapped out for us either.
Do you believe some things are?
Some things, but not everything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, some people
so there's a degree of autonomy and free will. We're not robotons like, you know,
no.
I must do this today because it's scripted for me. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So there was definitely, though, something spiritual going on there. And I feel like people who maybe were going through that and were not spiritual maybe found something out of it. Because a lot of people had a lot of help, say. There was a lot of people there trying to give them support. And I think when you feel that, it's more than just support. It's more of an internal thing that you feel. So I do think that there was definitely something
spiritual
going on.
Movement of some kind.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
In previous episodes, I bring that up because I've seen some of the best parts of humanity come on the backside of devastation.
But isn't that tragic, though, that we get together after a fucking great cataclysm, yet in our normal waking lives, we should be a bit more like that. And then the whole world, heaven on earth, would be built at that point.
I mean, I wasn't with him, but I'm told that Ronald Reagan said that the only way to really unify people is to have some existential, like a universal existential crisis to unify the people. It seems like we rally for each other when we have to rally for each other. And you're right. Why don't we just rally for each other?
Just rally
during peacetime? Yeah. During a beautiful day like this. Why don't we do that?
If there is a spiritual movement in that, it could be that, I mean, you're surviving that and getting through that for a whole host of spiritual reasons, each individual to the person participating. But I completely forgot where I was going with that. Hang on.
Well, I want to share one thing while you're recovering your thought.
Recovering from that.
So, you know, when I was in Palm Beach, Robin and I had this experience where we saw this homeless girl. We were having a picnic. We saw this homeless girl eating from the trash can. And it's beautiful. We're looking at the yachts and the beautiful intercoastal. And we're like, oh my gosh. So we packed our stuff up to find that lady. We couldn't find her. So I was like, but I found like 6 or 8 other homeless people. So we took the food we had and split it up like 8 ways and took 1/8 to all the different people. And I saw one of the guys, like the first guy I gave food to, was taking his portion of 1/8 and splitting it off. And I'm like, what? And I went to talk to him. I said, that's all yours. He says, no, my friends need some. I said, no, I took care of you. But I just walked away, like totally. I get emotional every time I tell that story because that's the best of humanity. These people have nothing. They're homeless and they don't have food. And here they are. I give them each what I have. They took their stuff and split it up. And here's a guy that didn't know I did that, splitting up his stuff for the other people. This is not like a hurricane, but to me, it's evidence that we are here to serve each other. We are here to help each other. And even when you have nothing, there's still that spark, that spirit within us that wants to help other people.
I agree.
So did you think of what you were thinking of?
No, I'm kind of loose on that. I think what I wanted to say about that, there's something happening spiritual for everyone. And I think it was Douglas MacArthur who said there are no atheists down the foxholes in Bhutan. So at that point, when you see all these waters rising, now I write science fiction and fantasy, so my mind can go there. It's kind of, it's a bit of a burden sometimes. But you would be praying to a God. You'd be like, God, deliver me. God, help me. And then if that happens, that could just be the catalyst to put you into a spiritual realm that you wouldn't have been in prior to that. But there would be a number of things, each working individually on the participant of that. So something spiritual is going on, but there's no clarity to me because we each got different things that we're here to withstand and learn and experience.
But this idea of God help me, it doesn't have to be the outside God. It could be the God within you.
Yeah.
But
you would be praying for your life, though. You'd be spare me.
But you'd be summoning it from within you. God help me means bring forth what I need to survive this. Right? Yeah. It's potentiality. But also I think that when we look at other people that are in really a bad situation, we see another one of us. We recognize them as a divine fractal, and we want to help them because they are another one of us. They have a soul, they're on their journey, and we want to help them on their journey. And so I think it helps both people. That's why I'm saying these negative things that happen in the world around us, they're not negative.
It's a good. My brother he's an atheist and he's a devout one, and he has never been able to reconcile suffering with the existence of God. He's never been able to get through that. But you can't if you see God in a certain way. If you expand your belief system, that actually gets easier. The more you have a postage stamp view, and then when you pull back and start looking at what all the world religions say about God, it can get easier to reconcile suffering, but it's still a very difficult thing. How could there be a God and let this happen?
I think so. I think that's one of the hardest questions to answer. Why would a little child of 2 years old, I did a story on him, he died of brain tumour. Why? He was a little boy who had everything to live for, a beautiful family, everything. So why does anything terrible happen to anybody? I don't know. I really don't. But I do have a problem reconciling that if there is a God. I must admit, I do.
Yeah, it's a very natural thing.
So we left off, you were talking about there's some sort of God. It might be polytheism, or it might be more than one. It's definitely an infinite source. There's some sort of energy. It's palpable, but we just can't put our senses around it for now. But continue with your story, because we're talking about, you took us with your history through Katrina, but then pick it up from there and talk us through.
How old were your children at this point?
So
and you have three girls.
Yep, I have 3 girls. Emily, she's now 26, Molly 24, and Tilly is 18. So she wasn't even born then. Right. So Emily would have been like 5, Molly 3. Yeah. So after that, we worked hard to try and get a green card. Couldn't. It was very hard. Eventually did get a green card through my journalism. That was in 2016. And just when we thought that everything was good, Dave, my husband, started feeling unwell that summer. And so this is like either 2016. And he used to coach basketball and soccer with my middle daughter, Molly. And he came to me one day and he said, Shares, that's what his nickname for me. He said, Shares, he said, sometimes I feel like my legs are not working. I'm running through treacle after the kids. So I was like, that's not good. So we were looking it up on Google and everything. It said all sorts of terrible things, but and then it kind of stopped. He was okay, and then we got the green cards came through, like about 2 months later, and then he got sick. So, yeah.
And can I ask a couple of questions?
Of course.
About that? If I'm, was it I mean, when he got sick, was it like he was in bed and he just? I mean,
no. So he was complaining about his walking still a little bit. He said he had to think, almost like really think sometimes to walk. So we, I think it was this October of that year, we'd gone to this movie theatre And we were stood that was at the time when they had the windows where you paid in Claremont. And we're stood there, and he was about to pay for him and Tilly. And he was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. So I caught him. And then, of course, we rushed him to the hospital. And while we're there, he was admitted. They thought it was something wrong with his heart. And he was admitted. And while he was there, his body was like, he used to call it body popping. And it was like his muscles were like
involuntary
like twitching.
Twitching.
So
Really
a lot
bad.
of times when you have a systemic issue, it's something, and I don't know anything about his history. This is the first time hearing of this, but a lot of times the base of the brain, anything coordination related, has to do with the base of the brain, the cerebellum, and a lot of times it could be anything from a stroke to a clot to a bleed out to inflammation. It could be a number of different things, a tumor, a growth. Any sort of bias that's going to influence that can actually influence everything from the base of the brain down, which is virtually everything. It's how your heart beats, how your body responds. Everything to do with regulating your body is done from that center core base of the brain. So I'm listening to you from the viewpoint of a holistic practitioner saying, this all makes sense, like what you're sharing. So
Yeah.
You're going through this, and I'm visualizing, you just finished talking about Katrina, but here you are with a hurricane of your own.
Right.
Figuratively, it's you're going through this hurricane, and there's this.
Did he come out of hospital?
Yes.
What did they diagnose it with? Did they find out?
No. So they didn't diagnose him with anything, but I said to the nurse, I was like, why is all this? And it was really noticeable here and here. And she's like, I think you should see a neurologist. So I was like, what do you think it is? She said, I don't know, but you need to see a neurologist. That's my advice. So they could not find anything wrong with him. So we booked an appointment with a neurologist in Claremont. Very nice guy. And he said, I think I know what it is. But he said, I need to do these tests. And he did these really awful invasive tests where they basically, Tia, you might know more about this. I can't remember what it was called, electro something, whereby they put needles in all your muscles and they record what your muscles are doing. Maybe
So I do know that. I've experienced that because I had spinal stenosis so bad I could barely walk.
Really?
It was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's not
And in fact,
nice,
the chiropractor the looked and said, how are you still walking? Based on what was going on in the lower part of my spine. Ooh. Same thing. So they stuck the needles in. They were doing these sticking voltage in and making my leg do stuff. And then there was active and passive work they were doing. But I had lost 80% of my sensory. So when you talk about not being able to walk, I get that because I was usually riding my bike 20, 30 miles a morning, and I could barely get on the bike. Wow. So I understand what you're saying here.
Yeah.
So he's hooked up, and so they're monitoring his muscle movements.
Yeah,
did that give you the clarity? Did they tell you what was causing that?
So
they're looking for conductivity, like how efficiently the neurons are firing.
That's it. Exactly that. So at the end, the doctor said to us, he said, okay, I am so sorry to tell you this, but I think he has ALS, motor neuron disease, that's what we call it in England. And when somebody says that, and I'd looked it up. I knew what it was, for sure. I knew what it was, and so did he. But then the doctor said, but with a possible diagnosis of this magnitude, and it's rare, I would like you to see 2 other doctors,
right?
Specialists.
Yeah.
So we saw one in Gainesville, and he said, this was a couple of months later, actually, because we were coming up to Christmas. So I think we saw him. Oh, no, we saw him that year, I think. Anyway, and he was just like so downbeat. He was just like, I'm really, I am sorry. It's ALS. There is no cure. people with ALS normally pass away within 3 to 5 years. And I remember coming back from Gainesville, and Dave could still drive then. And I think I just cried like nearly the whole way home, because
it's so heavy.
He'd never been sick.
No.
He was never
It's
sick.
so difficult, especially with
just a shock,
especially with your spouse. Like Robin and I always say, whenever the other one's suffering, it's like, gosh, I wish it was me. Like I wish I could carry that for you. It's so difficult being the other person. And a lot of times, like, we have people in our world right now where the spouse is sick and they're exhausted taking care of the spouse. So I always take care of the caretaker. So I move in to support the support system.
And that's very needed.
Yeah, it's so important. So if any of you are out there and you know somebody that's a caretaker, make sure you take care of them. It's so important, because I know where you were. I know what you're up against. You have these
expectations, because I'm married, I have 3 children as well, and you've just assumed you've just got this big, you're going to be in your 90s in a rocking chair on the porch, and you're told, well, actually, that's all your expectations. They're just, everything is off the table at that point, and that's just a devastating, shocking news. Yeah.
Well, we had plans. Like, one of our biggest plans was to buy a motorhome and just go around America.
I want to do
when
that.
the kids are done.
Yeah, when the kids are done.
We're going to have to caravan, because we want to do that too. We're going to get a caravan of these beautiful motorhomes.
Yeah,
right?
go to Yosemite National Park.
Let's get it done. So from a first person standpoint, today's episode, we're just talking a little bit about grief and how do you deal with grief. So from the drive home from Gainesville, this is a whole journey of what if. What am I going to do next? There's all of this stuff that you have to deal with. How did you do it?
Well, once the news it never really settled with me, honestly. I just didn't want to accept it, I guess. So I threw myself into research.
In case there's something you're missing.
Yeah, because I didn't believe.
Yeah, same.
I did not believe that this was it. I just didn't. I believe there has to be something. So for ALS, at that time, there was one medication that was like 25, 30, 40 years old. I can't remember, but it was very old. One medication, and it would give them maybe 6 months extra life. That was it.
God.
So he took it anyway. So I think by being really, really proactive, like I bought him, we had B12 compound. What's that called, Tia?
B12 is, there's 4 types of B12.
The purest form of it.
Methylcobalamin?
Yes.
So
I was getting that shipped down from this compound pharmacy.
Or hydroxycobalamin is one. Those are the 2 most bioavailable forms.
I think it was the first one, but
did that help him? Did you see anything tangible?
No. And then there was another thing came out, which was I had to learn to put an IV in his arm, and it was this drug from Japan. And after 3 cycles of that, we stopped because it was making him worse.
It's just crazy. Oh. It's crazy.
Yeah. But I just never ever gave up hope. I never thought he was going to die. Now, maybe that wasn't a good thing, honestly. I don't know, but I just never,
That's
ever...
how you coped.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do everything that I did without that.
Having the hope that there could be some way through this.
Yeah. Because we're watching...
It was probably your maternal instincts as well, because you've got 3 kiddies to take care of.
Well, yeah, and for a while we did not tell the girls. And for a longer time we did not tell Tilly. But then when he couldn't walk, and then he had to obviously be in a wheelchair, and then he had to have a different wheelchair because he couldn't move his hands to work it. He had to have one where he had to move it with his head.
My goodness.
And then he had a speech machine because he couldn't speak.
This went all the way.
Yeah,
wow,
so
sweetheart,
in general you have two basic categories of neurons. One of them is sensory. So it's like a feedback loop. So the motor neurons are the ones that do a muscle contraction or a muscle relaxation. So if you have motor neurons, those are your neurons that tell your body to do something or to stop doing something, right? But you need a feedback loop, and those are called sensory neurons. So motor neurons is going to do something, and sensory is going to say, so if I'm touching a stove, the sensory neurons are going to go, ooh, hot. The motor neurons are the ones that are going to move my arm in a very basic sense. That's it. So with ALS, we're talking about a degradation of the ability to move.
How was he mentally? He was completely understanding you. You could communicate.
Oh, yeah.
So he didn't lose the plot mentally. It was
Not
just his
at all.
whole body packing up.
Not at all.
You could still reach him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something.
And that's a salient but important. That's an important point, because here's a person that's completely aware of.
Terrifying.
And it's like, okay, I can't move my legs. What does this mean? You know, so
he was a very active guy, very active. So for him, it was diabolical. I mean, it was just it was really, really hard. Yeah. So another way that we kind of really got through what was happening was we had a great support system, and we did everything. We went on bucket list trips. We had parties. We really lived those 5 years.
So
it was how many? How many years?
He did make 5.
He did. So you had 5 years of really making the most of every time that. Wow.
Yeah,
that's very lovely.
It's sad, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But so, in terms of during that time, was there discussions about soulfulness or spirituality or the soul's journey, or was there any discussion about that, or you just stayed in the moment?
No. Well, we definitely stayed in the moment. Couldn't look past the next day at all. It was literally lived day by day, because also with his condition, sometimes it changed, you know, and I had to get hospice. He was on palliative care and hospice for 3 years. They were brilliant, by the way. But we did talk about it. You know, he used to joke he'd come back and haunt us.
And
he does. In fact, the other night he did. And it was after I'd asked him to as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we're going to have to get to that, because we're on Soul Decodes.
We would love to hear that.
That's awesome. Interesting, because, I mean, just from my superficial perspective, not superficial, that's not the word, but singular perspective, I do believe we carry on. I don't think this is the end of the road. So it doesn't surprise me that you say, hey, check in, and he found a way that he knew that you would recognise. Right,
I'll tell you, because it was quite... It was one of the best times.
We'll close out.
Yes.
Or unless you want to go now, whatever pleases you. So keep going, because this is fascinating. So you can tell as much or as little about like whatever you want to recount, but I'm interested in your journey. I want to know a little bit about David's journey, but also your journey.
Did you have any conversations about wrapping things up, and like he said to you, Shaz, I think I'm on the way out? I mean, had you had those type of practical conversations? So
he made it to his 50th birthday party. We had a massive party for him, and then he got COVID. We'd been so well, and this was like a year or two after COVID really hit. No, it must have been a year actually. So and we thought that was it then. And he bounced back. But then in the May, he was in his hospital bed, in our bedroom, till he died in the November. And he would say to me, it's not going to be long now. And I'm like, how do you know that? You can't possibly know that. And he said, I do know that, speaking through his machine. Yeah. You know, I do know that, Shez. And I would just say, listen, I really don't want to hear it, because I don't believe it. I don't think, you know, I said, you've come back from several times that year, we thought he was going to die. And he kept coming back. I said, no. But then I think it was like in the October, he said to me, I'm not going to be here for much longer. And I said, how do you know this? He said, I just know this. And he sometimes he would see like black, like shadows in our room, and he was seeing them more and more. Now, I don't know, because he could see fine. He was completely compos mentis, but he had a broad
But what
outlook.
He was seeing might have been in the spiritual realm that he was heading to, and you're not capable of seeing that with your senses, but he was seeing something transitional maybe that we're not really capable of.
Yeah.
But he was seeing something.
It could also have been physiological because, when you're in an immunocompromised state, especially on medications, your vision actually narrows. Like your field of vision can narrow and you can have the similar perceptions.
But he was saying to you, I don't think it's long. Something he felt that that the end was nigh.
Yeah, he said he knew it.
Yeah.
He knew it. So
was your hope at that point that you would be this cheerleader encouragement, or were you just in flat out denial?
Or hope. Okay, there's always
That's what I'm
hope.
saying. That's what I'm saying. The hope is the expression of
get
hope.
A bit longer.
It's like, no, we've got this, right? So was she being a cheerleader saying, no, don't go. Yeah, we've got this.
Right.
Well, I said to him, I don't want you to go. Even in this state, even knowing that he hated his life, I said to her, I don't want you to go. I really
it's a
don't want you to
relationship
leave
with
me.
his consciousness, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you're engaged with your best friend, even though your best friend is in a different state than when you found him. Mm-hmm. He's still your best friend, and you're engaging his consciousness.
Yeah.
So, do you believe his consciousness goes on after he leaves here?
Oh, yeah.
So there's nothing. So even though his body's not here, it doesn't mean you can't have a relationship with him in a different way.
Right. I totally agree with that.
But the proximity
is just, I mean, you're going to have to go on without him. And So he passed on, and I'm absolutely certain that you're going to see him again. I mean, I'm really certain. I mean,
so certain.
That's just because I don't think God, if there is a God, would have it any other way. He's not going to give you someone for all that time, snap him out of your life, and you'll never see him again, because no considerate God would do that. No. So I'm okay with a larger picture, but now you've got 3 girls and a life without him. And just the practical side of having a husband. I mean, you're there raising them together. You've got the bits that you do. He's got what he does. You've had a transition where he's not practically that much help because now he's in bed. And then he passes on to and then you're just left just with everything. How, in terms of a burden, did you ever feel this burden?
Do you mean a burden of him?
No, to now the burden is that you've got to do both jobs. You've got to be mum, dad, provider. You've got everything that was being shared is now just falling onto your shoulders, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, it's really hard, and it still is. Because we had the dynamics of our relationship were we shared like everything. All the chore. He would do the outside of the house. I would do the inside. But the biggest thing for me, and it still is, I am one of those people. I find it very hard to make a decision. I always have been. And we would talk about things and we'd talk them through. But very often he would be the one that would make the potentially life-altering decisions, or the decisions about the girls or whatever it was, the important things. And now it's just me, and I can't bear it.
Wow, that's
I can't bear it.
Interesting.
So it's been a few years now. That you just went over your 3 years, was it? All right.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to thank you for having the courage. Hopefully, somebody listening to this can find inspiration from you and your message. We haven't even gotten to some of the messages, but I just want to personally thank you for sharing. I think all 3 of us share the idea that we would like to make the world a better place, even if it's just in our little way of doing a podcast or sharing stories. So it's been a few years, and about a month or 2 ago, I brought up the idea of you doing this podcast, and you didn't really respond. But then at some point you said, I think I'm at a place where I can talk about this now. What would you like to share? What experiences would you like to share with the people listening to this?
So when Dave died, I got a job. I had a job before. Sorry, I was freelancing before.
Just tell me, refresh my. How old were your girls at this point? So they were.
So Emily was 23, Molly was 22, and Tilly was 16.
Right, so she was still a teenager.
Yeah. So my job had been freelancing, and I'd done that for years, and that was the only way I could possibly have, had him at home and looked after him and looked after the girls. So I completely threw myself into my job. I was offered this job at the local newspaper where I work now. Totally threw myself into it. Concentrated on the girls because it was awful, particularly the youngest two, and then I didn't deal with my grief at all. But then this summer, I was finding that I was just like in the car. I was very angry for one, and I talked to Dave. So I was in the car talking to him. Like, why the fuck? Yeah, why the fuck did this have to happen to you? And why the fuck did you have to leave me? Yeah. And I would get really freaking angry. And then I would get home and it would just be, because I'm normally a very positive person, you know? Yeah, you know, and I was just feeling that it just was really affecting every part of my life. And so a very, very close friend of mine said, why don't you go and get therapy? So I was like, I don't know.
But you recognised that you had this anger. I mean, you could, you know, you weren't just in it. You were watching yourself be in that.
Yeah.
So you had a little bit of a resistance to therapy. Like you thought that was... was it because that's a bad thing, or was that something?
I think it's English. I think you have a stiff upper lip and you keep calm and carry on.
Is that right?
I feel like
I agree.
that.
Well, it's not just English, because I went to marriage counseling prior to my divorce. I went to marriage counseling by myself for a year.
I just don't.
And I felt really bad about it. It's
in
like,
England, it
but I didn't
being
want
a thing.
I didn't want to be broken. I didn't tell anybody I was doing that because there's a stigma associated with
I feel it's
going
much.
to a therapist.
I don't know now because I've been over here for 30 years, but I always felt there was more of an American thing and very enlightened, actually. I mean, why keep calm and carry on? Why not talk to someone? Why not express yourself? Why not get the wisdom that someone else could give you to help you get through it? So,
but you could do that. You could do that without a psychologist or psychiatrist.
You could do it.
I think that's what girlfriends are for. Yeah. That's what good siblings would do. Right? If you had a sibling or somebody that cared about you, or even a neighbor that gave a shit, right? You would just be able to go and talk and just go, oh man, can we just have a cup of coffee?
I think
right?
that there's venting, which is very necessary, but I also think it would be very useful. So was this a grief counsellor? Was she trained in helping you overcome this loss? That was her background?
Yeah.
Or his, I don't know.
So it was a lady, and I am absolutely not against therapy whatsoever. I went to Grief Share for a little bit after he died. I didn't like it.
What was that? It was what?
Grief Share.
What is that?
So it's like a church, a religious base.
So somebody's been through stuff, they go to this church.
Yeah, but it was like a group within the church, and I think it's like a national thing.
Oh, okay.
Personally, I didn't find it very helpful. So then I was just like, you know what, I don't want anything else. So but I'm definitely not against it. So when my friend was like, I really think that it would help you because you've obviously got like unresolved grief, and you need to do something because it's like really permeating my life. My relationship with my girls, I just wasn't happy at all.
I think it was Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book called On Death and Dying. I read it after my mum passed away. And there are, I think it's 5 stages of grief. And I don't remember what they were. Denial was one, but anger was another one. This is absolutely known to be something that you'll experience.
Yeah.
Like you just get dumped with all this, don't you? And, I mean, it's just a lot.
So you found this therapy to be quite transformative?
I did. I think I got lucky in that I found a lady who was very much on my wavelength, very open-minded, very much. And I definitely started to feel better. But of course, with anything, it is a journey. I'll probably be on this journey forever.
Well, you still might have good and bad days for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It might always be like that. It's just how you can filter through those. Do you find that now that some days you can have that heavy feeling?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, now the days
Absolutely.
feel a bit easier.
Yeah.
Because it's still, what, only 3 years? I mean, it's not that long ago.
Yeah. And I mean, there's constant reminders for one. Everywhere I go, I feel like there's a reminder. And then when some of them, like a song will come on and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was that song whenever. You know, that's
Just triggering a past memory.
yeah.
Gosh,
Or
it's
you'll
intense.
talk to somebody and they'll bring something up. And it hurts my heart. I'm not going to lie. It's like I honestly feel like when he died, part of my heart broke off. That's the pain I felt, and I still do. Yeah. But having therapy and having close friends who I do talk to, it's just how you deal with it. So now, whenever I feel like that, I still yell in the car at him and have a go at him.
You son of a bitch. He's up there partying and you've got to get home and cook dinner.
Exactly. My thoughts exactly. You bastard. You left me. But now I can look at those memories and be grateful. And I tell you, that is the key. I am grateful for all the, we were like any other married couple. We had ups and downs all the time. Yeah. But all of it, I can now look back and I am grateful that I was his person for 25 years.
Beautiful, yeah.
And I am good with that.
And that gratitude is making you lighter. It's just lifting you enough where this is now easier to cope with. And that's
Absolutely.
Another thing about gratitude. That's very wow.
We were going to be talking about grief, but this is fascinating. This is back-to-back episodes about gratitude.
Yeah. Well, grief, gratitude, and
they almost go together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We talk about loss of a loved one. I struggled when my mom passed. I was, at the time I was a captain for JetBlue. I was in Boston. And my sister calls me. It's like, Mom has a routine thing. She had a stint already and she was going to go in and she's feeling weak. And she was asking if you could. So I finished a 4-day trip, jumped on an empty airplane and went on an empty seat and went to Detroit at the end of a trip. Just thinking I was going to help my mom, I ended up spending the next 72 hours in an ICU with her, and she passed. And so in one regard, you had 5 years runtime. I had the end of a trip with 3 days, and my mom's gone. So it's like all those feelings compressed into, in this short period of time. But it's interesting because you get out the back end and you have time to sort it out and figure out like, okay, I just lost this really cool lady. What's it mean? How do I deal with that? And it took me weeks, but ultimately it was gratitude. I thought out of all the people I could have selected for a mom, I chose the right one.
Yeah.
I lost my mum when she was 59 and I had 5 weeks and then we didn't know she was dying and then she did. And I'm not diminishing your loss or mine, but your mum is supposed to go first. And although I was very young with my mum.
Yeah, fair.
But the husband, I mean, you'll think you're going to be with each other right until you're in your 80s or 90s and raising these children that you have produced together. And that's a different order and different magnitude, isn't it? Because you feel that they've just been... there's no orderliness about that.
No.
I mean, I knew my mum was going to die first at some point, but now you're at 50 and he's just gone and you've got the rest of your life. I mean, it's not like this happened when you're in your 70s. I mean, you're still young and vibrant with his young children. So you mentioned that you talk to him, which I love because I have these crazy conversations with my mum and she'll come to me sometimes, like I'm not even thinking about her. And then I'll hear like a Neil Diamond song play. I'm transported back to where we were in England, in Dorking in the 70s. And now I've got this dialogue. And I don't really share, well, I'm sharing it now on Soul Decodes, but it's very personal. And I think, am I losing the plot? But it does feel that I'm communicating with her, and it does give me solace. And I do think that she's around, and I don't know what that looks like, but I do feel her around. And then for weeks sometimes I don't, and then I'll hear from her. But you've still got your husband somewhere in your life
although it's not where he was at home. Is that right? You still feel him?
Absolutely. Yeah. When I'm talking to him, I definitely feel that he's listening, and he can't always communicate back, but I just feel like he is there.
Well, tell us this episode where you asked to hear from him.
So
how did he get your attention? And you don't have to tell.
No, I'll tell you.
Yeah, if it's personal.
It's X-rated, darling. This is from a family audience.
So
and this was recently.
This was on Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good. Wow.
So I had not felt him for ages, and I'd gotten really cross. You know, I was talking to him, and I'm like, "Can you please just let me know you're here? Because it's really upsetting me, and I just need to know that you're around," and nothing. So on that Tuesday of Wednesday actually, the day before Thanksgiving, I was with my therapist, and she's like, "How are you doing?" Because she knew it was the anniversary. It had just been the anniversary. He died on November the 22nd. And I'm like, "I'm okay." I said, "But honestly, I really thought I'd hear from him, particularly because it's the time of the year and I don't feel anything." And I said, "That's really been upsetting me." She's like, "Listen, we don't know how it works or anything like that." She said, "But let's just keep practicing our gratitude, and you know." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm okay." So we went to Thanksgiving at my daughter's boyfriend's family, and that night we'd heard this massive bang outside, and Dave, my Saint Bernard, was going berserk. So we're like, let's, because there's me and the two girls living in the house. So we're like, let's check every room. So we went in my daughter's room, opened the door. That light was just like this, like flashing, so fast. So I turned it off. I'm like, what on earth is going on here? Turned it back on, flash again. So I'm like, what on earth? So we go out, and I joked. I said, but it's your dad telling us, you know, don't worry about the bang, everything's fine. I went to go to bed, put my phone had been next to my bedside. I went to go to bed, got in bed, picked my phone up, and his contact page was there. So it said, "Dave, phone number."
Wow.
I hadn't seen that since before he died.
Why would you? Yeah.
Why would you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just there. I'm like, oh my
God.
I called the girls. I'm like, your dad is definitely here.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen that since before, like probably 2 years before he died. Because, of course, he didn't have a phone for that time because he couldn't use it. So, holy shit.
And then you'd correlated it to this light flashing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm not really big into... There's a lot of shows about the paranormal, and I'm a little bit into it. I'm definitely curious. But apparently electricity is... And you might know more about magnetic frequencies or something, but electricity is how the other side can communicate. It's a known method, apparently.
Yeah. And before we've been having... Like, if we've been having a big argument, which me and my girls have gone through a lot since he died, and the lights would flash when we were like screaming at each other, and it would stop us, and we were like, I think that's Dad or Tilly would be, or whoever it was would be like, that's telling us to stop.
Right. So he's reaching you.
Yeah. So that was that, and then the next morning we got up and there was a big white feather in the lounge.
What?
Was white feather, was that significant for something?
Well, where was it? Like just big white... The doors were closed?
Yeah. It was just there in the dining room on the floor. So I picked it up and I'm like, it has to be...
Well, how else would it get? I mean, a white feather? That's... Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, so nothing crazy, but...
Well, he found a way of reaching you, and that was confirmation, because you'd been asking for that.
Yeah.
So he'd use the phone, a feather, and the electricity. I mean, he'd somehow got your attention. Did it give you the comfort that you were hoping for as a result of asking?
It did, because there was absolutely no way on this earth. Because my phone had been in my room since I'd got home. I'd left it there. And, you know, obviously I hadn't, like, picked his number up.
Well, you'd have to go into your phone, you'd have to go to messages, you'd have to scroll, then you'd have to... I mean, there's lots of steps to get that to come up.
Yeah. And I picked it up, and there it was.
That's so...
So
It's like, girls, get in here!
and the dog comes, what?
Yeah, Dave comes running in.
Wow.
So a lot of times when we spend so many years with somebody, we tend to almost emulate or replicate their thought processes and their mannerisms. To what degree or to what extent do you find yourself thinking the way he did, or using his little speech, little characteristics and things? Do you find, like, on your day-to-day basis that you that there's a gift that he gave you? Like you said that initially that I'm not good at making decisions, but then at the flip side, you're making all the decisions. Do you find his voice in your brain walking you through the decision process?
So
That's interesting.
Not always, but what I try and do now is I try and think like he thought.
That's what I'm saying.
What would Daddy do?
Like how
what would Dave do?
Because it's almost like you're having the same conversation. It's like, okay, I'm going to say this to Dave. Dave's going to say this. And we're going to go back and forth. What would Dave come to? What would he suggest? And then you put it out there. To me, that's still a gift. And that's, even though he's not here in the three-dimensional space, that to me is a very real communication.
Yeah. I definitely go through something and be like, well, he would have probably said this, and he would have wanted this. So yeah,
Or he wouldn't have wanted
this. Yeah. And it definitely helps me to make a decision. Yeah.
So when I was in my early 40s, my best friend had committed suicide. And
Sorry.
And we had not been in touch for a while. He got involved with drugs and such, alcohol and all. But there was part of me that was like, what could I have done differently? And you went through all of that. But I made a decision because I had a hard time dealing with the grief. Like, for weeks, I was like, how could I have stopped this? And I know, knowing what I know now, it's like, well, I shouldn't have stopped this. I couldn't have. I can only do my best and be there. But if that's part of his contract or his journey, or that was his sovereign divine decision, then it's not my place to stop that, right? But from a first person standpoint, what I decided to do is whenever I lost somebody that was close to me, I would just be reflective and peaceful and find out, just discover what was it about my experience with that person that was just amazing. And it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a pet. It could be really any experience. But people are special.
Yeah.
And so what is it that about, like, for my friend's name was PJ, and then my mom, what was special about them? Like with my mom, she was a good teacher. She was not a formal teacher in school, but a life teacher. And she was also a great hostess. So every time I do something, I want to do it to the next level to honor my mom. And just say, okay, how would my mom do this event? How can I be a better hostess when I do this? How can I teach this better? So I continue I take the best of the person I lost and I keep it alive within me. Nice. PJ was a very freaking awesome inventor, innovator, tangential thinker. So whenever I'm inventing, I'm thinking, okay, I got the spirit of PJ kind of going in my brain, like, how can we make this work better or different, or what am I missing, right? With that as a backdrop, what are some of the special characteristics of Dave that you find yourself keeping alive? Like Sarah's talking this morning, when you came into the studio before the show, you were talking about doing donuts in a Jeep.
My daughter was doing donuts on my front yard.
All right, so but you brought that up, and I immediately thought of PJ, because PJ brought out of me, because I was a very reserved person. Like I was my family, had this strict set of behaviors, the church, this, that, blah, blah. Everything was strict and standardized and you had to comply. But PJ brought this wildness, jump off the roof of the garage and, do every sort of wildness, including doing donuts. Going freaking crazy, just taking the snowmobile and opening it up,
flooring it
full on, just this crazy ass stuff. That's why I tell people, it's like, I don't even know how I'm still alive. Because we would do, if my mom and dad knew what I was doing, I'd be like murdered. They were just like, what? So, but there's this, do you find that with Dave that there's certain things that he did that brought you joy and happiness that represented his character that you find yourself keeping alive within you?
Were you alike or were you opposites?
We were actually complete opposites.
Right.
Total opposites.
Well,
that's interesting.
That's
then.
even better.
Yeah, it is, because now you're missing that. That's gone. So that might make it more of a struggle because you were opposite, because you were now blending as one.
Well, struggle, but also a gift.
A gift as well.
Yeah.
But getting over it would be
getting
harder.
Over it, right? Because that's a loss of a piece.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So do you find that there were certain aspects of Dave that you're able to keep alive in terms of his character living within you?
Yeah, I mean, he was very adventurous. He was very much no matter what, if we want to do something like this big family holiday, this whatever, let's do it.
Yeah.
He was very much live, I think. And I still try to be like that. Even though he's not here, I definitely still try to be like that. But I can't help thinking we did everything we wanted. We were lucky. We both had really good jobs. So we financially we could. We moved here. We did that adventure. We had many, many adventures. And I can't help thinking that sometimes that maybe that's how we were supposed to live our lives together. But I also try to
that would be
carry
the
that on.
acceptance part. You've accepted that.
Yeah, maybe we were supposed to cram all that life together in that short space of time. Well, it wasn't that short, but all of it
Comparatively. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can look back with gratitude instead of regret.
Yeah.
Because if you're just couch potatoes surfing, Cooking Channel or something, and then this happens, you're like, holy crap, now we got to catch up. Mm-hmm. But you didn't have to do that. You were actually actively living.
We lived. So. I can honestly say that we really lived.
I believe, and I write about this, that we have a life plan, but I don't believe everything is predetermined. Some things are. Now, for me, the death of your husband could be predetermined, or it could be. But I would go in my belief system, which is reincarnation, that we're coming and cycling on and off this planet over and over again. That would feel... okay, and you're going to learn something. He's not gone. You're going to see him again. And you're almost having two lifetimes in one, aren't you? You've had the one with him and your kids. Now this is another whole part of your life without him. So you've got these two things going on in your life. And that could have been something that you chose prior to coming here. And you don't know what's in store in the future. You're just going to live your life the best you can and be with your family. Now, you've got 3 girls and you're close to them. Does that bridge the loneliness gap at all? Because I think it would be... I know that I would be lonely if my husband was gone. Yeah. Does that help, having a larger family?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely has. And we've got animals as well. And
that's good.
Yeah, but I think having the girls... because for the first... 2 years he was gone, they were my complete I focused on them, which is probably why I did not go through my own grieving. But I feel like that's how it should have been.
Good for you.
Yeah, I do. I feel like that's exactly how it should have been. And now I'm kind of I'm more equipped to deal with myself.
Right.
Do
you still live in the same house you shared?
We do.
And is that a comfort?
Yes, it is. It is, because he died in my bedroom. And it's nice to see, stuff that he did to the house. The familiarity.
Stuff. Yeah.
I think, but I don't think I want to stay in there forever. I don't.
Well, if you're having a hard time making decisions, that would actually be the biggest one of your life, wouldn't it? Because
it would.
To get rid of that. So I wish you well on that one, but you'll have to pray for the strength. And you'll have to say to Dave, okay, I need to see this, and this, and I'll do it.
Yeah, just give me these 2 signs that I have to move and
Yes.
it's a good decision.
Yes, I want 2 and a confirmation 3 days later. Would you always stay in Florida? Have you thought about
Yes.
it? Yes.
I would. When he was alive, we thought about going to Georgia, but I don't think I'm going to go anywhere like that. No, I think this is it now for me.
Well, selfishly, I'm glad to hear that. Because you're always a light. Like even in the networking, you've been to my house for some gatherings. We just love to see you. And I'm always I was that person growing up where I was always happy, but there was so much darkness within me. And so I'm always, when I see somebody as happy as you, and I'm always aware that there might be something else going on. So I just want to tell you that you're always safe here. And if you ever need to just
I know. And Tia is so kind to me. She always asks me to come over like on holidays or whatever. So I'm grateful for your friendship. I really am.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a holiday. You can just pound on my door and just...
I know.
Hey, can we talk? So,
I know.
Well, so as we look forward, this is going to air probably between the holidays. What guidance, and Sarah, chime in. What guidance would you have for people that have experienced loss, or maybe I know a personal friend of mine whose husband is really going through some difficulty right now. You probably know who that is, but what guidance can you give them or insights would you like to share?
I think you definitely fall on your friends for one. For if you're invited somewhere, try and go, because there's been many times that I've been invited somewhere and I've just been like, I don't know whether I should go, and I go, and ultimately I'm glad I went. So rely on your friends and give yourself time also. You have to. If you're having a bad day, let yourself have that bad day. I know people say that all the time, and it's hard. But I always think, if I'm having a bad day, you know what? I'm going to go to bed and the sun will come up. Yeah. The sun always comes up the next day. And very often I feel better. I have gone through whatever feelings I had to go through in that awful day. But now I don't want that. I want...
That's gold. I struggled with depression growing up. They didn't label it that, but I know I was always dancing with darkness. And the one decision I made thousands of times was to just wait one more day. Mm-hmm. Just wait.
It works.
And it works.
It does work.
So
I absolutely works.
I love that. So.
Yeah, and I had to learn that.
There was a song by Daniel Powter, Bad Day. I had a bad day. It was a big hit. It was probably about 15 years ago. Yeah. And that's an anthem for me. Not that I have that many bad days, but sometimes I'm aware that my day isn't like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the rhythm of life. It's not personal. It's not anything you're doing, but you have to accept the rough with the smooth. And it's quite extreme in your cases because of your loss, but everyone is going to have a bad day, and it's just a bad day. Tomorrow you're going to wake up and then you're going to have that smile again. So
it is. It's definitely exactly that. It is just a bad day.
Yeah.
Majority of them are just a bad day. And the sun, the light, it's there the next morning. And it's up to you, of course, whether you decide to have a good day, but...
is that kind of a choice for you now? You can say, you know what, I'm going to try and have a good day. You're choosing. I'm not going to fall into the darkness of what that is. Can you make it a choice? Sometimes
it is a choice, but I feel like I'm in a situation now, in mindset maybe, that I just do enjoy my life. I love my friends. I love my job. So it's not as much of a choice.
Right. Yes, yeah. It's already set. You have a good life and you recognise that. Yeah, and
I do definitely want people to know, though, that nothing is forever. Just like being married to your husband may not be forever. In my case, it wasn't. But a bad day isn't forever. And I had to really come to terms with that as well. A relationship might not be forever. Nothing is forever. So I think if you can...
Impermanence, the Buddhists talk about impermanence. Mm-hmm. It's all subject to change at any given moment.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing to accept, I think.
It's scary, isn't it?
It is scary.
It also could be exhilarating because anything could change at any moment, and there's a certain torque that puts on life. There's a certain edginess that gives you.
Yeah.
But, it is quite, and it could just be here today, gone tomorrow. I love it when you talked about putting so much into your 5 years together, and you did your bucket list stuff. And then we should do that anyway.
Yeah.
Right? You just do that anyway. Live life to the fullest. And we hear that a lot and we think, oh, yeah. But it's absolutely, don't get complacent and don't take each other for granted and just live. And Dave sounds like someone that was press enter, let's just do it.
Yeah, he was. And even when he was like terribly sick, his big joy was going to watch my daughter Tilly at the barn with her horse. And we made that happen every time. And you can imagine trying to make all this stuff happen.
Yeah,
it was hard, but we did it. And sometimes he'd say to me, gosh, he said, he'd be like, oh, I don't want to go out today. I don't. And I'd be like, tough, we're going out. And then he'd come home and I'd say, it was good, wasn't it? And he'd be like, yes, it was really good.
You're welcome.
Exactly.
You're welcome. So, Sharon, anything else you want to share with the people before we wrap up?
I think that's probably most of my thoughts, my thinking. Just, it's not easy. Grief is not easy. But there are people out there to help, and it's just a journey. I guess it's a journey. You're going to have good days, you're going to have really bad days.
I think the journey might be, and I don't know because I'm just speculating, but it might be easier to recognise when we get back to where we came from, because you'll look at the whole bigger picture in reverse.
Yes.
But when you're in it, it's just inexplicable sometimes, and you just have to accept that. I don't know, and it's just this big mystery, but I'm absolutely certain that you'll see him again.
Yeah.
Absolutely certain. I'd lay my life on it. So, and time, we don't know what time is. I mean, when you see him again, it might feel like it did 5 minutes ago. So I have faith in that.
That's so true.
Well, just after, one last thing, I think, just after he died, so he died in the November, and in the January, I had this very vivid dream, and he was in this wheelchair. We were friends. He was in this wheelchair, and he got up and he walked towards me. And he came over to me and he said, look, I can walk again. I'm fine. And he gave me this hug. And I woke up and it was so vivid. I've never forgotten it. I can still see it now. So going back to what you said, Sarah, I do think he's up there and he's walking around and he's just waiting. He's doing absolutely fine.
What if that's reality and this is the dream?
Yeah.
Well,
what if this is the
thought
dream?
about that, Tia.
What if I don't exist? I'm just like this make-believe puppet that's our
real essence and home and everything. And this is just something we come in and out of for whatever reason. We might not understand it. And he's doing just fine. You'll go, and you're all in eternity's perspective, in the bigger picture, you're all going to be reunited, and it won't feel then like it does now.
No.
So some of our past episodes I've talked about lucidity, and I really would like to have you dive into that a little bit in the future. I'll teach you a little bit about it, some techniques, because
it's lucid dreaming, where you can summon the dream.
You're in the dream. You're midway between this reality and the alternative realities, or what, that reality and this fake reality, whatever this is. But you're able to still be semi-conscious and semi-control your involvement in your dream.
In your dream. You can direct it.
You kind of direct it. Now, it's taken me years to do, but I do it almost every night now.
Really?
It's really fun.
I'd be very interested.
And I learn, like, Sarah gets downloads from her dreams. I had
a dream about you this morning. Do you want me to tell you real quick? It's very brief.
Go ahead.
So it was just a scene, and my family was there, and you'd climbed up quite high, and then you had to climb back down again. And I can't really, like, it was like boxes, or it might have been a barn, it might have been bales of hay, but you were climbed up, it's about 12 feet. I was waiting for you to come back down, and then you just did this backflip, 2 circles, and landed next to me.
Stuck the
And I'm
landing.
like, holy shit. And then I went on to the next sequence in my dream, but you were like...
I just wanted to show up.
That was this morning.
I was really hoping you'd say I was in a helicopter, but
no, you were just like an acrobat.
that sounds like me, totally. So it's going to be such a celebration, but I would like the idea of us convening or coming to agreement that, hey, tonight let's meet in our dreams. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? And
Wow, that would be.
I say this because sometimes Robin and I, we have dreams that are so complementary. It's like, wait, what? You did what? Where? And I say, well, I was here doing this. And like, so was I. Like, it was freaking weird.
My friend Charlene, she's from South Africa. I've apparently visited her in her bedroom over the years, maybe like 5 or 6 times. And she said, Sarah, you were sitting here, you were on the bed and we were talking. I have no recollection of that. But she said that your soul has come to me. I'm like, wow.
God.
I mean,
Yeah, so I think we need to be open. We need to be open to those conversations, you know. So, but Sharon, I want to thank you for Sharon Keeble for being our guest in Treehouse Studio. I admire you for what you're going through. Your friendship's a gift to a lot of people, including me. And Sarah, any closing thoughts about our visit with Sharon today?
I've got a little funny story after my mum died, talking about other side communication, and I wrote about this in my first book, "Is This the Best God Could Do?" So, my mum had been dead, and I was I was having conversations with God at that point, and I was being really demanding. And I saying, you need to give me a sign that my mum's okay, because I was really worried about her soul. And this was a whole big journey that I went on. And I was quite demanding, that's putting it mildly. And I had taken my daughter to the doctors. This was about 6 weeks after she died. And I was coming back on 474, which is a country road down near me. It goes on for about 13 miles, and it's just through the swamp,
50
basically.
to the 33, right?
Yeah, 33
to 27, sorry, yes.
And so I'm down there, and I'm coming back from the doctors, and then I see this dog wandering in front of me, and it's this big old tick hound. And then I pulled over, and then a police car came up behind me. And I thought, well, that's good. At least he can take care of this dog. And he said to me, this dog's got to go to animal control. And I'd already had, at that point, I had 4 dogs. And he said, would you be willing to keep it tonight and then call animal control in the morning? And then I'm kind of like, well, isn't that your job? You're a police officer, you know. But my daughter, who's 3, Samantha, she's like, yeah, mummy. So I'm like, all right.
Of course.
So we get the dog back, and he was probably weighed about 100 pounds. He was old. He had this big cancerous growth hanging from his throat and all the rest of it. So I get these blankets, and I put him in the garage. I put a bucket of water and a big thing of food, and then he's lying there. And then I went to bed. And then I woke up about midnight, and I just hear in my spirit, go and look at that dog. And so he's lying down, and he'd been branded because he was a hunting dog. So someone had branded initials, and they had branded LD, right? It was black, so it was kind of... Actually, it was white, and then you could see the LD in black. And they're my mum's initials, Linda Durham. And so that was the sign.
That's incredible.
It was mind-blowing. And I ended up keeping this dog for a year and a half.
Of course you did.
And he had my mum's eyes. I'd look at his eyes, and they were exactly the same as mine. These brown, hazel eyes.
Oh, I love that.
And he was such a pig, this dog. He would piss and shit everywhere next to his food bowl. But I loved him so much. And that was the comfort that I got after my mum died for that year and a half. And I called him Swiper, because my daughter was into Dora the Explorer.
Swiper
was the Swiper, no swiping.
Yeah.
And so I kept, and so that was my encounter with demanding something from, give me a sign. And he's like, well, here you go, Sarah. This filthiest.
Careful what you ask for. You want a sign? I'm giving you a damn sign, okay?
That's so good.
Well, listen, I want to thank everybody for listening. You know, month over month, we're growing. We'd like to have our numbers much bigger, but we're just grateful for those of you sharing our show with others. If this brought you benefit and you feel like it can benefit somebody, please share. I do want to give a heads up for those of you loyal listeners that the character of Soul Decodes moving forward, we're going to change up a couple things with the new year. Sarah's really getting deep into some of her creative work. I'm getting deep into my creative work. So we still want to keep Soul Decodes going. We just haven't navigated what the next, what version 3.0 is going to look like.
But we've left it up to the universe for inspirations.
So we don't know if we're going to go less frequently or if we're going to bring in some other hosts or hostesses. But the one thing we can guarantee is that the messages it'll be about the message of Soul Decodes. We know the essence of this show will always be about your soul's journey and what's it mean and what does it not mean, right? So any thoughts on that, Sarah?
I've left it up to the universe, and I have absolute faith that the way forward is going to be magnificent. And I try and live like that, and it's exciting. It's a new revamp, and that's always good. And I am
having a meaningful discussion with somebody all three of us know, and she seems very amenable to the idea of being a fill-in host.
Beautiful.
So even if it's just for a couple months, we're gonna always keep the show going. So anyway, thanks for joining us, and please share and have a great holiday season. We love you all.
Thank you.
Soul Decodes, a featured presentation, airs every Friday on the Earth Angel Media Network. This episode of Soul Decodes is sponsored and produced by Live Pure. Optimize your life by taking your health to the next level. Listen now to learn how Live Pure will make your world better.
Live Pure is an American-based distribution system of online portals that give discounted access to clean, potent, natural, and ethically sourced healthy solutions for fat loss, muscle gain, clean skin care, immune system support, whole body cleanse, physiological balance, and performance support for athletes of all ages. Live Pure handpicks the best products and nutrients from world-class companies, always adding to their quickly growing wellness lineup that now includes Korean skincare, no-injection weight loss alternatives, medical-grade nutraceuticals listed in the physician's desk reference, and healthy coffee that rivals the world's best, but for only about $1 per cup. Soul Decodes listeners looking for youth, beauty, and better health can get wholesale pricing by visiting livepure.com/gateway and signing up for free as a preferred customer. Content creators, influencers, and virtual entrepreneurs looking for passive cash flows from emerging markets can profit from Live Pure's state-of-the-industry affiliate program, which provides up to 7 different payment vectors. Content creators aligned with Live Pure and Earth Angel Media will enjoy massive co-marketing benefits, including a personally branded website. Sign up as an affiliate brand partner at livepure.biz/gateway or drop us a note at earthangelproject.com. Check out the show notes for more details.